Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with me discussing about community and everything that we know about the growth hacking community and how difficult it is to manage a community of 60,000 people, which, believe me, it's way more difficult than what we were always expecting. So what we have done today is that I have collected all um, the issues that we face managing the community and the solutions that we proposed and how we handle such a community. And you know that nowadays it's quite important to build a community, more important than what it was a few months back or a few years back before AI, because now with AI, the content is so easy, and we see that more and more it's not working as it used to work. So that said, it's quite important to build around communities and build authentic relationships. So let's share my screen to start the presentation. That was just an introduction while waiting for the people to join. So hello from London, and I feel that we will have a very nice presentation today. I have prepared for you very interesting content so that you know I'm Theo, based in the UK and chief strategy officer in Growth Hackers that we acquired few months back. And that means that, and one of the reasons we did that was exactly because of the community, was just because of you all, that we would like to become a, 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 a squad of connected growth hackers working around the same challenges and topics. So a few things there, maybe you know me already. I don't believe, and if you see my profile, I don't believe that it takes a psychologist or an engineer or a chartered accountant as myself to become a community manager, but it helps. And you know why it helps? It helps because it has to do a lot of understanding the psychology of the user. It's about understanding the numbers and then making sure that you create content in different aspects that is actually helping the community to grow. And that's why it happened accidentally, but if you are a psychologist or an engineer, it really helps. Besides Growth Hackers, I'm the CEO of Growth Rocks, a growth hacking agency, and together with that, I'm running Growth Hacking University and AI the Academy. So, and a different of other startups that some of them they've been exited, some of them they are about to be exited, and we have quite a lot of activities. And the reason for that is that when you have the ability of matching the demand of the market and bring solutions that they need, that is something that is quite important for a new startup to come up, a new exit to happen. And if you are able to materialize an idea down to an entity and an exit or a product, that also it makes sense for us all. And that is why we get with growth hackers and why we believe that growth hackers, they need to move into the next level. And that's what we try to do. So we prepared a great agenda for you today. So we will discuss about the basics of a community, because it's not very clear that we all understand the same talking about a community, how we are able to acquire users. And do you see my screen? I believe you do. So if not, just let me know. So it's about acquiring users, is about screening and selecting members. That is also very important, something that in the beginning we never thought it was important. And then how you can engage with users, how you can activate users, and by users I mean members, how you can monetize the community, and how you what that means in terms of the costs. Because people, they don't really realize that when you run a community, that comes with a cost. It's not for free that you manage a community of 60,000 people. Just emailing 60,000 people, or creating content for 60,000 people, or even answering the questions that they have, or of moderating, that alone is generating a ton of costs. And it's not only that, is that besides that, you need to have platforms, you need to have tools, you need to have the security around that. So all these things, we will discuss about all of them in the next hour. So let's start from the basics. So community is, by definition, and that's the definition given by HubSpot, is the community is all about connecting with like-minded people by providing valuable answers. So if you see the red words, these are the most important. So because the whole thing is not just about to get them in an email list, is about making sure that people, they actually engage. And sometimes the people of the community, the members of the community, they don't necessarily engage within the community. Sometimes they engage through the email that they will be getting. For example, in Growth Hackers, we moved from a weekly email into a daily one. And we were believing that when we did that, we will lose something like 50% of our people, because they don't like getting a daily mail. Now, and what it happened was that, first of all, we got a lot of positive reactions, because we create everything on a daily mail that it makes sense for you to know. And we feel that all of you need to get an email with all the important elements that you need to know as aspiring or even as growth hackers. And we saw the open rate going up rather than going down. And that's happening day after day. And now our challenge is to keep up every day in order to come up with an email that it makes sense for you all. And every morning we start our day by selecting the items that we will put on that email, making sure that you will get the value out. So it's all about connected with like-minded people, which means that if we are not like-minded people, we don't want you there. We don't want, not you, we don't want members that are not like-minded. Because if that is happening, then the problem is they will just be packages, right? They will just be cost, because every user on a community system, it's actually costing and creating a lot of noise for all the others. So that is about the definition of the community. Okay, and there are two kinds of communities. You need to decide if you will create an own community, or if you will create a community on Reddit or on Facebook group or whatever. So first of all, a community, there are different elements to decide that. Obviously, the easiest one would be not to create a community that on a Facebook group, right? You create a Facebook group and then you try to invite your people on Facebook. Now, there are multiple problems with that. The first one is that people, they don't like Facebook anymore. So they are quite okay with Facebook, but younger generations, they don't like that much Facebook. So that's why they don't see Facebook as a potential community. On the other hand, if it is Reddit, for example, the problem with that is that you don't control that. You don't actually own your community. You just post something that in somebody else's community, right? So if you want to have a full control over the community, the features, the experience of your users, the content they will see and everything, then you need to build your own community, which is obviously a tough choice. Then what is the next thing is what's happening with the data. For example, on Reddit, it's very hard to understand what to do with what's happening with your data. You don't know how many users you get every day. You don't know how many users they actually join, how many users they try to overplay the system. You know nothing. And very similar to that is on Facebook groups. So if you want to own the data, you need to have your own community. Now, why it's important to own the data? Because the data that you get from the community is one of the content of the source of content that you create for the community itself. For example, we are ready to publish this analysis of what's happening with the users, how many they are, from which categories they come, how often they engage, and all this stuff. And you will see that the insights that you will be getting of how the community is operating and working will be very valuable for you. Now, that said, the next thing is branding. On Reddit, on Facebook group, you don't have a lot of abilities for branding. And if there is one thing that you do for the community is branding and demonstrating the expertise of the community. So that's why it's quite important to incorporate everything. And if you see everything on the community, for example, if we go So I believe that something happened with, hello, hello, can you hear me now? Is that okay? Something happened with the connection, I assume. Are we back? Okay, we're back. Okay, thank you. So what I was saying is that it was very important that we have the community and for branding purposes. Now, let's go back to the next things. Then for example, in Reddit, you cannot actually monetize the community. You cannot have paid tiers. You cannot have paid events. You don't have this kind of stuff. Same is in Facebook groups. So the only way to monetize the community is through a known system. And the most important is what we call the algorithms. Because what's happening with the community is that if you don't own the community, then you don't control what people will actually see. And the problem with that is not if you actually control it, is that if you don't control, then you may end up just annoying the users and the members of the community because other members, they don't respect them. And that's why you need to control the narrative. That's why you need to control the content, because otherwise you end up with a community that's not working as it should. Now, that said, then we have the ownership of the community, and then we have the controlling the member behavior, which is also about the policies, about the procedures, is about different things that that you need to have to actually make sure that the members will actually behave. Now, that said, what is quite important here is that, and if we continue with that, you see that there are three different kind of communities. What we call exclusive clubs, where people, they do know each other and they get in order to discuss that. And we are coming up with an exclusive club. So some of the people, and that's why we have the leaderboard, the people on the leaderboard, which is people that they engage a lot, and they become top voices, they will get in an exclusive club. And with that exclusive club, we will have different discussions about case studies and other stuff. So that is a part of the community that will be available only to those users that they will become members of the exclusive club. And then we have the open communities, which is like Reddit. Reddit is an open community. You can join, you can post, you can ask, or Facebook, same thing. And then we have the moderated communities, which is like the one that we have in Growth Hackers. So now, why people will be joining the community? That's the first thing that you need to ask yourself. And that's the first that you need to offer. Why people, they will be willing to join our community? So first of all, they could be because they want to connect, because they want to participate, because they want to ask something, or because they just try to sell or to leverage the community. And maybe you will ask me, but how often is it for someone to leverage the community? Well, you cannot imagine. It's so often that we had to move a platform from the platform that we used to have to a new one just because of that. Because in the previous platform, we could not moderate, we could hide articles that were not properly done, such as link building articles, SEO articles, just articles that people they were posting for getting some leads back to their websites. And our members, they were seeing these articles again and again because we couldn't moderate upfront. So now we move to a new platform, which is called Better Mode. And that's, by the way, is the same platform that HubSpot is using for their community, where everything that is being posted, we are checking them first, and then we allow or not, which means that the noise that we have now in the community is way less. Okay, so if you don't control who is actually getting on the community, if you don't control that, then the problem is that it will actually, you need to shut down the community. It does make sense because people, they will not engage, they will be pissed off of you and all these things. So it's very important to understand why you want people to join and what you have to offer to them. And we're very generally about that. We do believe that it's okay being sometimes the bad cops, which means we don't allow everybody to interact because we respect your privacy. We need to respect our community members. It's our job to protect them. Nobody else will protect them. And if we assume, and that's one of the mistakes we did, we assume that people, they will be protecting each other and they will be respecting each other. It's not happening. So there is a rule of communities that nobody will tell you, and that is the rule of 1990. Let's see what that rule means. So that rule means that only 1% of the users will actively create content. Another 9% will actually participate by commenting, rating, or sharing, and the rest 90% will just stay back and watch without responding, without engaging, without doing a thing. But they're also valuable part of the community, because in the community we don't have only the active users, we have the passive users, and that's okay. Just reading and being informed through a community is okay. We do the same on Facebook, we do the same on LinkedIn, we do the same on Instagram. We watch, sometimes we engage, sometimes we don't. Now the percentage though is quite strange. Just imagine we're talking about a 10%, 1% will create content, 9% will actually comment, and all the rest, they will never appear. They will never introduce themselves. But they will read the articles, they will get in the courses, they will do all the things that the community member does, just not actively and without the exposure. And that is exactly the thing, that you need to understand that if people don't want to be exposed, that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes, people, they asked us to work or to do something together, and I knew, and they are telling me that I'm following you on LinkedIn, for example. I say, but you never reacted, you never engaged, you never liked something, you never comment on something I did. And they are telling me, yeah, well, it's okay. We keep listening and we keep reading, and that's all, which is great. That's all. So don't expect that out of the community members. Don't force everybody to engage, because it's people psychology. They will not. And it's okay if they will not. Okay, keep this in mind. Now, a next thing which is quite important is that when someone is joining a community, and that is the same thing when you do content in LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, which is something that we call in our terminology, in growth hacking terminology, we call that the social selling. What you need to do in social selling is everything other than selling, right? You need just to communicate, you need to engage, and you need to share. And then when people, they feel that what you have done, it makes sense for them to engage with you, or you need to nurture them even further, then that's fine. They could become prospects at some point. They may not. They just, because sometimes in the community, what we like a lot in the community of growth hackers is that we are like-minded for one main reason. And the reason is that we are fellow marketeers, we are fellow growth hackers, right? We do the same job. We speak the same language because we do the same job. And that's fine. And that's fine. And that's why we believe that the voice of growth hacking needs to actually broadcast it. And that's why we believe that we don't try to sell, we just try to deliver content, and then all together the voice of growth hacking will be amplified. Because that's all we need, amplifying the voice. Because amplifying the voice, amplifying the methodology of growth hacking and everything, at the end of the day, it will result more activities for us all. We know that. And just for you to know a bit more about basics and numbers, we see that we have only, when we see, we said about the 1990 rule of engagement. Now here is the 3-6-30-30-30 rule of intent. Now, only 3% of the users that they actually get in your community, and it's happening with our community, they're actually interested in being in a community, which means that they joined because they want to ask something. They joined because they want to read articles. They ask because they want to get the discounts on the courses, right? Most of the people, and some more, in total 10%, they're open for that because they are in the same ideas. There is a 30% of people that they join the community without even understanding what that community is about, without even understanding that this community is about growth hacking and it's not about digital marketing and not about hacking itself. And that is quite strange, but it happens. So you shouldn't expect that people, they actually understand why they need to join, why they are joining community. And it's your job to create that, to build that intent from I don't know why I'm here down to I'm getting interesting information in here. Let's try to connect with some people. Okay, now acquiring members. So these were the basics of the community, and you know, sometimes we do need to discuss about the basics of the community because you know they're not everybody's believing the same stuff. Right now, acquiring members. Now, in order to build a community, you first build to build your EAT. If you are not familiar with what EAT means, is about expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Right? So you build a community when you have reasons to have a community. And it's very hard to create a community from a corporate website, right? We run Growth Rocks. We never tried to create a community through Growth Rocks. we tried to create an email list in Growth Rocks, but not a community. While in Growth Hackers, which by design is not a corporate thing, they tend, is not that much to buy, is actually to learn, and not that much to transact. So that's why first you need to build an authority, you need to build your expertise, and then you build a community to leverage that expertise. Okay, and now you will see that there is a loop, because the idea is that people will join the community because of the expertise that you offer, right? We came up with the term growth hacking 50 years ago, right? That is giving us a ton of users we work with, a ton of clients we work with, use cases, examples, experience. That is actually the expertise and the authority in the field. But also, it works the other way around, that you build a community to build that expertise. So it works two ways. So if you have the expertise, then you need to build a community to share that thing, assuming that you have the sharing mindset, and you need to. And the second one is that if you have you build a community to come up with the expertise to do something more. Okay, now in order to do that, in order to build that, you need also to optimize for organic traffic, because you cannot build a community by force. It needs to come organically. It needs to come through different organic channels, such as SEO, for example, through ChatGPT, through whatever, through LinkedIn, and they need to end up. We have 40 different members per day on our community without forcing them to do so. Yes, obviously they come on growthhackers.com, they see that we are a community, and they see that it's a great opportunity to joining, and they join. But we don't actually force them to do so. Okay, and then you need to, in order to build a community, you need to have quite a lot of traffic, because if you don't have traffic, then the community members will be very few. And that's the first thing that you need to build. Before building the expertise or the community, you need to build the traffic to make sure that members will actually keep coming. And then you need to add the community options in all of your, let's say, DNA. You need to become a DNA, a community with a DNA, which means that the landing pages that you have, and we have growthhackers.com, you will see a lot of references on the main menu, on the footer, everywhere. We're talking about the community. So that is for us quite important. And I believe it's quite important for you, because everything that is working for us, it's working for you. And we will explain in a moment what were the main mistakes that we did while implementing and engaging the community. Now, here is, for example, an example of what you see, supported with dedication, as we call it. You see here some pictures of the members. You need to explain that it's invite only, if it is free or not. Sometimes it's not. All these elements. And then obviously you see the DNA. That's what I was telling you about, that either we have services, or we have a community, or we have the university. These three are the DNA, the elements of our DNA. If you put that as part of your DNA, then you will see that it will work. If you try to build a community as a side hustle, it will not work. Okay, so you need genuinely to feel about the community. And then you need to start building what to give in this community. For example, we do these webinars here. We do Ask Me Anything questions, and we give 20 minutes per week discussing a specific topic. And we keep coming with more topics and more things to give. We give special discounts to community members. We give courses, we give ebooks. Actually, what's happening, and that is something that we will be doing in the next weeks, is that all the material that we have, all the playbooks, cheat sheets, quizzes, everything that we have, they will be gated and they will be only for the community members. So if you are not part of the community, you will see none of them. If you are part of the community, all of them will be available to you together with other stuff that you could get on top. Okay, now screening and selecting members. Now the easiest way to do would be actually to just ask users to sign up and create an account. But if we do that, that will be a disaster, because the moment that you will start getting wrong members, and by wrong I don't mean members that are not related to our job, it's members that they try to actually leverage the community, then it's the moment that you annoy the rest of the users. And that is exactly what we need to protect. And if the quality of the community will go down, it will go down forever. It's very hard to resurrect the community without, by cleaning up activities and by taking out content that it shouldn't be there at first place. So, and that's why we need to understand, and we understood something the very hard way. There are two kinds of community members: those that they actually respect others and those who don't. And one of the things that we try to do is to separate the two. And we try to accept users that we believe that they do respect others. Now, how can we do that? It's not that easy. Let me explain you the process. Okay, the process is that, first of all, when you want to join our community, and I feel that this is the same that you can do for all the communities. So the moment that you may want to build, so the moment that you would like to apply for the community, then you cannot just join, you apply. And by applying, you will get through a process. So the first thing that we are explaining here is the community guidelines, making sure that we do understand that you understand that you need to follow some rules. Now, who is reading those? Very few. And that's why we have other ways to enforce this kind of stuff. Okay, now the first thing that we care about is your position. Again, don't forget, one of the things that you will get very often is, and very you will get next, is actually a full analysis of the profile of the users that we have in the community. And that will be quite easy for you to understand. And we have prepared a lot of other infographics that we will start sharing with you all. But the first thing that we care about is your job title and your professional background, so that we understand how we connect you together with other people and do a matchmaking thing. Then we do have a note about SEO and backlinking professionals, because backlinking professionals, they do believe that getting a link from different places is all they need to do. And they try to do that without lacking respect to the people that they send that. And that's why we say, if you want to do that, don't. First of all, because it's a private community, right? And you will not get any backlink. So because it's behind the paywall. So you will get no link. But besides that, by annoying people, normally these people, they will not enjoy that. And we try to explain that from the very beginning. Now, that said, we ask some contact information and some location, so that we know where the community is coming from. By the way, the community that we have in Growth Hackers is something like 40% in the US, 40% in 30% in India, and then the other 30% all around the globe. So something like 20% in Europe and 10% in different countries, including Australia. And why that is interesting for us? Because we may think that maybe we need to open up different languages. Maybe we need to create smaller communities with a local character. That is why we care about that, to see how we can serve our community better. If you see now in Growth Hackers community, the growth space, you will see that we have even people speaking in Spanish or in German. And that is something that we try to fix. Now, that said, we continue with where they learn about growth hacking communities. We know that everything is organic, but we need to understand who is actually influencing some others to do so. what kind of the size of the company, the industry, it's quite important for us, and then the goals, why people are joining. We want our members to tell us why they join, why they want to join. Then, besides those questions, we understand few things quite important. We understand if they use the users, if they use company LinkedIn account, if they use their own account, if they put their own names or not. So, and that is how we do the screening, because the idea behind that is not just to complete the form. We have a lot of rules and understanding and analyzing through AI if the member is having chances to behave or to not behave. Okay, so and then there is a flow of approval. So there is a flow. We have all the incoming people, and then that is, for example, the last week. And then we have in discussions with some of them trying to fix the data that they're not correct, and then we approve. And then the moment we approve, we are sending the link for them to create actually the account in the system by just providing username and password. That's all. Okay, and then besides that, we have another flow where we are sending them the email, and we are actually adding them on our email list, and then they may select what is the cadence that they want to get emails from. And that's something that we know that the community members, they do enjoy a lot, because sometimes they don't like push notifications. They like being informed through emails on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or on the transactional basis, which means that they get emails when somebody is posting something. And that is something with the community that you can, if you like, and if they like, all the users, they can turn off notifications from specific channels, and they may say that I want to get notifications only when somebody is asking my my questions, or that I would like to get different notifications when they come from the company or when they come from questions or topics that I'm interested of. Okay, now engagement inside the community is the most important of all, because as we know, we already discussed about the passive engagement, right? So it's about giving value even if we know that we're not getting signals that you engage. Okay, now again, it's our job to protect our members. It's the community master, the community manager, to protect the members. Is our job to show respect. Is our job to be the bad guys when we need to protect the rest. Okay, so reality check, we said about that. The reasons are psychological. We don't try to change that. We don't try to convince you to create more. We don't try to convince users to engage more. We know that a small percentage will engage. We know that, and we need to understand, and we need to accept that. Okay, now 7 mistakes. So what the 7 mistakes I made through all these years dealing with community. The first one is that we were believing that members will behave. We were very positive in the beginning. We started for years. We were believing that people, they are in the community for the same reason. They don't like to annoy each other, and they would behave. So unfortunately, that was not the thing. We need to have policies. We need to have procedures. We need to have principles that they actually give us the way of doing so. So we cannot always play the bad cop. We always need, as community members and community managers, we always need to explain that it's not us not giving you access to something, is the procedure. If what you do is against the policy, then we cannot allow that. Because if we will allow that, then it will create a bad momentum for all the others. So the first mistake was believing that members will just behave. Okay, and maybe it was the case when we were 100 people. All of us, we were behaving because we knew each other. right? We were meeting each other in stages. We were in presentations, in stage speeches. So we were all a team, and then we didn't have an issue. But the moment that that went publicly, by adding more people, then we realized that we need to moderate, that we need to control, that we need to become police officers. Now, the second one was that people, they would actually naturally start conversations, which is also not happening. And that's why what we need to do is that we need always to step into the dance floor, right? You need to create the energy. You need to do to go first. First you give and then you get. Okay, and that's why you see today I had a user ask me, but why in the leaderboard you have the best score? What's happening with you? And I said, it's nothing happening with me. It's just that I'm always willing to drive some discussions and start some conversations. And because I do that, and because I comment, and because I genuinely care about the community, I engage more, and that's why I'm going higher in the leaderboard. And I will explain what the leaderboard is in a while. Now, the next thing was that in the beginning, we never thought that community needs to have managers. We never thought that we will need to get community managers and to recruit those to work full-time in managing the community. We were always believing that AI will do the trick of the screening, and then self-moderation will be working. None of them, right? So you need, if you have a community above 1,000 people, you need to have dedicated community managers. Otherwise, it will not work. It will not work because the content will not be there, because you will not be able to accept users for many, many reasons. That what the community manager is doing, right? So you need community managers. We have 4 of them, by the way. So we have one for every 10,000 users, right? And that alone is a lot. So one for every 10,000 users is possible just because we know of the rule of of 10 out of 100, that we know that only one of them will actually submit content, right? And which means that out of the 10,000, just a few of them will actually deliver content, and that's why it's able to do so. If that number will change, then we need to increase our community managers. Now, that means is that in the beginning, we were ignoring those that that they were not making a lot of noise, and we were focusing only to the loud ones, and that is a mistake, because we always need to design for different levels of participation, and that is something that we now learned, and then we engage everybody, and that's why the first way of dealing with that was actually accepting that there are people that are not equally loud. And we said, okay, that's fine. We'll actually work for you. We will not push you to engage because we know you will not. That's perfectly fine. Now, the next one is we didn't have a clear idea of why people were joining. So now, everywhere from the application down to visiting the website alone, we are collecting the why. We have something quite interesting on the website. If you go growthhackers.com, you will see that the first question that you will have to answer is why you're here. And we don't even collect emails. We don't care collecting the emails. We care about what you will answer that question, because that alone is telling us a lot. Not about who is coming for what, but what you are coming from. Okay, and the why you're here. That was these were the first questions that we were asking, not from the very beginning, but we learned that this is very important. Now, the next one was that we care a lot about the tool. So we used to be in Mighty Networks, now we're in Pedo mode, and it was always about the tool. So what the tool is doing, how we offer through the tool, how we optimize everything, how we beautify everything, right? And then some years back, I visited HubSpot's community, and I realized that their visuals, their aesthetics and everything in HubSpot community is way less than what I wanted to build in Growth Hackers. And I said, it's not about the tool anymore. It's about the people. It's about the content that we serve. And that is what we moved towards, right? So we have a big shift from building something which is aesthetically perfect, pixel perfect, to something that it makes sense for the people to engage. And we start removing features. And that's why we moved from Mighty Networks to Better Mode, because Mighty Networks was a great system, way too complicated, and without the ability of moderation, right? Those two things, they made us move everybody from Mighty Networks to Better Mode. And believe me, migrating 60,000 people has been completed yesterday. It was a tough thing. Now, the next one is that we underinvested in the first 100 early members, because when people, they join a community, they do that for a reason. And if they're the first they're doing that, they could become ambassadors, they could become our champions. So we lost that opportunity. Now we're trying to do the same. And you will see, and if you are part of our community, you will see that we try to engage with you. We try to open up discussions. We try to differentiate and separate the top voices, and we want those top voices to speak to the community. So we are building a machine that is a self working machine. And because we do believe that among us, there are a lot of champions. And you need always to remember that in your communities, there will always be champions. You need to find them. You need to actually identify them and separate them from those that they want to be in second tier, which is all good, right? But some people, they will help the community more. You need to identify that. And then why, and I keep asking why people, they don't post. It's so clear. We are a community of people, and I'm sure that you will have the same questions in your community, because everything that I put together, it will work for all the communities you may want to come up with. And the first question is why people, they don't post. What's happening with that? So the first thing for that is happening is that they don't know how to build a perfect post. So here's the rule. The rule is very clear. You follow the 40-40-20 rule. We have plenty of rules in this presentation. So the 40-40-20 is very clear. First one is you write for something that your audience care about, right? So if for example, we have topics of AI, paid ads, SEO, growth hacking, UI, UX, all these things. Now, if you come up with crypto, doesn't matter. We will not even allow that. So don't write for something that is not related to our community, because there are other communities for crypto. You can go there, you can go Discord, you can go in different communities for this kind of stuff. The next one is the content. And obviously that's also very important, because we don't want to have content that is just ChatGPT related, right? Or Gemini or something. It needs to provide the value. And then the last one is the creative part. What kind of images you have? What kind of visuals you have? Do you know that in Growth Hackers and in GrowthWorks as well, we have backlinks from everybody? You know to what they link? They link not only to our articles, but they link also to our visuals. They use our funnel. They use our terminology of a growth hacker. They use content and visual content we generated, and we put it on the document on our articles, and we created specifically for that. So the creative plays a role. So if you know 40 is the target audience, 40 is the content, and then 20 is the creative, don't underestimate those. Don't just put out any kind of a feature image just because you need to post something. Create something that it makes sense, and create diagrams that they do make sense for others. And you will see that people, they will start incorporating these elements into their websites. Now, the first thing that members, they don't post is what we call inertia, right? Because people, they don't, inertia is nothing more than just keeping, is just like a machine that it forgets to do stuff. That it's about inertia is nothing more than that people that are at rest will remain at rest. So you will not manage to mobilize them. So people, they don't have the community in their habits. That's the point. That's why people, they don't post. Not because they don't have what to say, but because they don't think that what they have to say, it will make sense to say it to the community. It's the same thing. If you will ask me why people, they don't post regularly on Instagram or LinkedIn, that's the main reason: inertia, because it's not a habit. So you need to make sure that your users, they have a habit of doing so. And that's why you need to incorporate in your community this kind of habit generation approach, right? Why we get into here? What is the habit? Is about reading new updates every day. Is about the habit of learning new tools that they came up. Is about getting the daily news. Is about the different things that they build a habit. Okay, and if you build a habit, then you will see that people will actually start posting. Next one is that normally people, they don't like being limited and having reduced options. So that's why they don't like posting, and they don't like posting, especially in channels that they do not own, which is, it makes sense. You cannot change that. And that's why you will see that a lot of people, they post only in channels that they own, in their own social channels, rather than any channel that they are not the owners. The second one is that they do afraid, the third one is that they do afraid of making a mistake, which is, I absolutely understand that. The same in all social media. People, they do afraid making a mistake, but there is not such a fear anymore, right? Just pass everything you want to write through Perplexity, through Gemini, through Grammarly, through ChatGPT, and get back something that is free of errors, right? So that's all. Nowadays, that is not an excuse anymore. You can pass through, and then you will post some value. And the next one is that the lack of role models. Now, people, they don't know, why should I do that? What will happen if I see that? How many successful people I know that are actually doing so? So lack of role models is the next thing that is stopping people from posting. And believe me, there are role models. There are people that, because they engage and they create content all the time, they've been very successful. Find them, speak with them, let them teach you, let them inspire you, and start posting, because creating authentic content is the only that will protect us all from the AI tsunami. Okay, so, and the biggest asset that you have, and your members will have in your community, is their community profile. And there are, the reason for that is because people, they don't remember, right? So people, they get on LinkedIn every day, maybe. They get on Growth Hackers community every day, maybe. They need to remember the profile of the users. So that's why we keep asking you to introduce yourself. We keep asking you to create pictures, to create even a profile that it makes sense, because that will make sense. For example, here, for my hero image, I created a picture of right image size, making sure that what you will see on my profile will actually make sense. Don't lose the opportunity for extra visibility through a community. That is what I'm saying. And we created extra fields in our profile, because people, they do search for other people. They look for other people. And we saw that people, when introducing themselves, they were saying, hello from the UK, hello from India, hello from Germany. So we said, okay, excellent. Let's put that in the profile. So now we have that in the profile, and people, they can select their countries, which means that at some point we will even create, as we said before, specialized local, hyper-local communities. So that's why these things, they do make sense. So few tricks about creating a profile. Try to create the same profile photos consistent across all channels. So the channels, the images that I'm using here, normally if you see my profile image, is exactly the same in all my social media, because people, they need to understand that we are talking about the same people. Also, it's not only the picture, sometimes it's the name, right? So having the same name across different channels will help your visibility. And we know that one of the things that you need you are here is the visibility. Okay, then you need to fill in every field of your bio with engaging copy. Don't just copy and paste elements from your LinkedIn profile, or leaving it empty. You lose an opportunity. And that's why let users filling up information in their profile, because that will be used later on. We will open up very soon an option where we have available jobs, and people, they will actually to select some people for doing the job, right? There are a lot of things that the profile will get you there. A correct profile will get you there. Now, and remember that we always need to link with your other social profiles, because if you see here also something we didn't have from the beginning, and a mistake we learned quite recently, is that we are asking people to get in our LinkedIn, on our Instagram, X, or Medium. So we want people to move from that community. We don't want to keep people locked. If people, they like what we're doing, and they like the members, they will follow that member. So if you want to see your members following going up, you need to connect here and you need to give them the opportunity in your communities to do so, because that will help. Because people in the beginning, they believe that they need to lock people down, that they don't want to leave. We believe that our community could just be one among a different number of communities that the growth hacker will engage with. So we understand that. We are okay with that. We don't want you to lock you. We don't want to lock you down. We want to open up in different channels, and we want other members to connect with you in that way. And that's great. And if you will put everything here properly, you will see that people, they keep asking you to connect with them, because you are part of the same community. So, and then make sure that these links work, because we have a lot of links that somebody is not working. And remember that if you have good content, one of the things that we do is that every time we see the best content ever, we pin them, which means it goes on the very top, and it delivers extra visibility. Okay, so as a summary, all the important things we just said is that that the community is all about individuals, and as individuals, we need to make sure that they will get the maximum visibility from a community. Now, if you want to get content for links and shares, and if you want to get leads rather than just clicks, then make sure that you have opinion posts, you have content that provides original research, authoritative news content, and ask people to do so. Not just, don't just and force them to just put the links of the articles that they have on their website. That does make sense. It's not just a community is not something that it will replicate the content that exists elsewhere. The idea is to create genuine content, and that's why it starts with discussions. Then, of course, there are some articles, and then there are PDFs, and then there are playbooks, all these things. But it starts with opinionated posts, questions, and genuine discussions. Now, that said, we have a community leaderboard, which is actually number of activities that are happening from people. And we also have different badges that we deliver. We have top voice, we have new member, we have different particular role based on the role that you have in the community, and we will be introducing more. Now, those of the leaderboard, the top leaderboard, excluding myself, obviously, we will get extra discounts for in all the materials that we have. Even if they will join our services cohort or our university or whatever, they will get extra discounts because of their engagement with the community. So it makes sense for us to be on the top of the leaderboard. It makes sense. Now, when we want to monetize, we have actually two options. The two options are either not to monetize, and that is what I believe, that we do not monetize the community, we empower the community. And we're empowering the community by giving discounted prices for those paid elements that they can find only in our community, or by just getting value. If they don't want, if our members, they don't want to buy something, they buy nothing. That's okay, right? If they don't want to join our club, then it's fine. They don't need to join the club. It's perfectly fine. We have no issue with that. And the second opinion is that you can monetize the community by delivering some of the content for paid members only. We were thinking of that a few months back. We decided not to. I'm not sure that it will always be the case, because somehow there are costs that need to be covered. And for such a big community, that's exactly what, there is always a balance between what you are delivering, what you are getting, and how you balance the two. Now, the cost of maintaining a community is of four elements in four cases. So the platform itself, it comes with obviously on a monthly plan. So on a monthly basis, we pay for that. Then we have all the moderators working full time, the community managers, as we said, the 4 people, and also the time that we spend on moderation. Myself included, I'm spending a lot of time moderating and speaking with people, creating the content. Also, that is not something that moderators or community managers are doing. Creating content is something that there is a specialized content creation team that's creating content for the community. And obviously, there is also the email sending and the CRM, that the social CRM we use, Go High Level, that is actually costing a monthly fee. So these are the 4 elements of the community. The cost is depending on the number of people that you have. For a community like ours, which is 60,000 people, it's something like 6,000 cost on a monthly basis for maintaining the community. That's why we have no tolerance in letting someone destroying the community, because we pay a lot from our pockets to support that community. So there are reasons for us to do so, and that is that we generally believe that a community will make the difference. Okay, now sometimes the community itself needs to be the inspiration for content creation, and that's what one of the things that we do. A lot of content that we generate, it comes by analyzing the insights and the behavior of all of the members, and seeing where we need to go next, what they ask, what how they engage, how they do not engage, right? So that is a content, it helps a lot our content creation machine. And just remember that as growth hackers or digital marketeers, we need to leverage different communities, right? We need to be in different communities. So growth hackers is one of them, but put a habit that you spend 30 minutes engaging in conversations with different communities in your area. It could be Quora, it could be Reddit, it could be us, it could be any kind of communities with people that are like-minded and they could give you value. So that was all. I believe that now I gave you the full spectrum of how we manage the community. If you need to connect with me, here is my LinkedIn profile. Here is my QR code linking to the LinkedIn profile. Get me on the community as well. Speak with me on the community. Let's create the next top voices. Let's create more value. Let's create engagement. And let's break the rule of 1990. Let's break that rule. I feel that we have more top voices than the 1% of those that they actually generate content. We do believe so. So let's break that rule. Let's create more content. Let's engage. Thank you very much for your time. And I will be glad to share that presentation with you so that you know, but please get me in the community. Speak with me. Share some ideas. Thank you very much for your time. Bye for now.